Hello there and welcome to a new KD craft. This time we're going to be making a Dragon Age Inquisition shield out of foamboard. For this project you're going to need 2 sheets of A2 foamboard. You're also going to need an X-Acto or craft knife. As well as that you're going to need the printed templates from the description below and 2 to 3 shades of different coloured spray paints. I'd recommend 1 can of silver for a top coat and then a darker shade of grey for the back and a darker shade for the eye logo. You're also going to need a Hylian cutting board. Make sure you've got the 9 large sheets of the template and the original one for reference. Don't forget, 1.5 sheets of foam board should do you fine. First of all, cut around the edges of all the templates, cutting them in a little bit on the lines so they stick together nicely. Once you've done that, start laying them out on your foam board, starting with the top of your shields. Begin with the middle. It will make it easier for attaching the other pieces. As you sit them down, try and glue in the parts that are going to be cut away. This will make removing the sheets easier when it comes to it. If you do end up putting glue onto the pieces which you're going to keep, then it sometimes pulls off the card surface when you're removing them later. Leaving them flappy, as long as you can cut straight, leaves you with a nice shape for your shield and helps with having a nice smooth finish afterwards. First step is to use your craft knife to cut around the outside of your shield. Take your time here and do it in small pieces. Depending on the size of your cutting board, this might not take you very long at all. Once you've done that, use a pencil and draw around the outside of your shield on your second piece of foam board. This piece will form the base of your shield. Once you've done that, you should have your nice pencil outline and then use your craft knife to cut around the outside. An important step here is to make sure that the back piece fits exactly behind the piece that you cut out beforehand. That way you won't have to do any cutting out afterwards or any smoothing off of the edges. Next step is to cut along the inside of the edge of your shields, because this is going to form the raised part of the edge of your shields. Then you can start cutting the inside of the eyes and around the spikes as well. As you can see, if you're using the glue on the parts you're going to remove, then the paper comes off pretty easily. If you do have some glue on the template, then just very gently but firmly pull it off at an angle from the boards. You should find the template pieces will come off and you'll be left with your pieces of foam board left over. Now on, it's just a case of using your knife to go around the edges of all the pieces, remove the eye, and then you can remove the spikes. Be careful as you're going around the eye here. You want to use the knife pointing straight down. You'll find it a lot easier to cut through the board that way. If you find that when you cut through it's not coming away cleanly, just flip it over and use the knife to cut through any parts which aren't cut all the way. Just like with the other pieces with the eye, cut along all the black lines so you've got all the individual pieces. As you see here, I use a pencil to draw around the edges of the eyepiece as the original template to come off, and I wanted to leave a nice clean surface for spraying later. This bit can be really fiddly, but the tip of a sharp knife, X-Acto knives are great for this. Helps it come out nice and smoothly. You can always use a very small circular rasp to smooth it off afterwards. Once you've done that, use a pencil to mark where the lines would be. This is going to mark the centre of your spikes, and this is the part we're going to need to think about when it comes to cutting the pieces at an angle later to give that 3D look. Once all your pieces are marked out, it's time to get out that X-Acto knife, make sure it's nice and sharp, and we're going to cut in, starting in the middle where your line is. You're going to cut a line down to create an angled side. Cutting down to an angle of 45 degrees works really nicely. Takes a little bit of practice, but as you can see, you get a really nice effect if you can manage to cut at that angle. Just repeat on the other side of each piece, and you'll get something that looks a little bit like this. Watch out for cats. And again. Once you've done that, repeat on the sides of your eye. A 45-degree cut gives it a really nice 3D texture. Also repeat on the eyelid of the eye as well, both the inside and the outside. As you can see, the light and the shadow is showing up really nicely already, and after we put a spray of paint on that, it's going to look fantastic. Then after that, repeat on the edge of your shield, not right on the outer edge, just the inside edge there. The outer edge we want to be nice and flat, to give that shield a rough look around the outside. Once done that, it's time for spraying time. I used a dark coat of primer, auto spray paint, for the eyepieces and the spikes, although I'd recommend spraying kind of a covering spray on the foam, because it can dissolve the foam depending on what spray you're using. And I use a silver body paint to spray the back of the shields, the edge and the middle inner part of the eye. You can see here I used 2 test pieces of foam board to check out the colours first. And there you go, dry fitting the pieces together afterwards. You can see you get a really nice effect there. The spikes are a little bit pointy-uppy, but if you lean on them afterwards, they'll hold down nicely. Using your tin of spray adhesive, your tacky glue then, begin with the outer edge, then work to your eye, because that will be the centrepiece, and then add your spikes on lastly, starting with the beginning. So to do that, turn your pieces over, make sure you're doing this in a well ventilated space, and then using your spray adhesive, spray a nice even coat over. If you've got a particularly good high-tack glue, you may find that gives you better coverage than spray adhesive. I found the spray adhesive really good to work with because it took to the foam board really quickly, and it also meant that I still had some working time once I applied the pieces to the board. Then work through your inner pieces afterwards, and then we're on to our spikes. There we go, we've got our finished eye, it's looking good, it's centred, and then we're going to start off with the big spike in the middle, because that's going to be our anchor point for adding the other spikes. As you can see, it's got a bit of a bend, as that's just what the spray paint seems to do to the foam board. But if you weigh it down with a couple of tins afterwards, it should go down pretty nicely. And there you have it, there's your completed Dragon Age shield. Thanks very much for checking out the video. If you did enjoy it, then do check out some of the other foam board videos. We've also got the Legend of Zelda Hylian shield, and over the next few weeks I'll be posting other videos for other game and geek related foam board projects. As always, if you've got an idea of a future project, then do comment below and check out our Facebook page, KD Crafts. You can also check out the Twitter stream as well at KD Crafts. But thanks very much for checking out the video, and I'll catch you in the next one.